So I just want to kind of take it all the way back. And if you could tell us about your childhood. So I understand that you were born in Nigeria, in a small village in Nigeria in Ondo State. If you could tell us a bit about your childhood and then moving to Lagos. And also, if you don't mind, we're having some mic issues, so I'm going to go and fix the mic. But you keep talking in the meantime. But
yes,
not
a
if you
problem.
could just tell us about your childhood and how that went.
Yes, not a problem. No, I was born in Paradise. I call it Paradise because Aede, my village, is in the rainforest belts of Nigeria stroke West Africa. And I latterly built a house there. And at the back of my house, if you look through the windows, you see the rainforest, just beautiful. And down at the bottom of the valley, and it's still there, is the stream where we as children used to swim and play. This is nature's swimming pool with pure water purified by the foliage. That's where we played every day. That's where we collected our drinking water and then marched up the side of the valley back to the village settlement. So I was a child of innocence in that respect. Nature, it was kind to us, perhaps too kind to us. But there came a stage when, at the age of 6, I was effectively kidnapped from the village. They weren't. They knew that my grandmother, who I was being cared for, who was looking after me, would never have agreed for me to be taken out of Aede and taken to Lagos. But my father, who was then living in London, sent instruction for his brother to take me to Lagos. And so I remember very early one morning as the cock crowed, on the second cock crow, that he woke me up and said, "Get up." And next thing I was on the back of a motorcycle. Next thing I was on the Benin Expressway junction. Oh, wow. Next thing I was on the back of some lorry heading to Lagos. Wow. I didn't know it was Lagos. We were just heading somewhere. And I spent, so there I was, wrenched from my childhood friends, no chance to say goodbye, etc. Trying to form a new life in the very, very different environment of Lagos, megacity. Even then, the noise, the hustle and bustle, very different from the placid village life. And I spent a year there learning English at a rudimentary level because all I spoke at that time was Yoruba in the conquest dialect, in the conquest manner possible. And so, but because my father had plans for me to come to the UK, I was effectively taken to Lagos to go and learn rudimentary English. Okay. I spent a year in Lagos. Before, at the age of 7, I was then put on a plane unaccompanied. This was
so. Before you go into that, if you don't mind me asking, what's it like moving from a village? It's very isolated. You said you're just dealing with nature. You know, it's a close-knit community, I'm assuming, to this massive city, sprawling. I read a bit of your book and you'd mentioned it was dirty. You tried to run away. Just if you could kind of almost paint a picture of like just moving like worlds apart from these two different places and what that must have been like. Oh yes, being the village boy almost.
It was. I mean, it was soul destroying, that move, because as I said, I was a child of paradise, and we were all children of paradise. Yeah. And we had no cares, no needs. We didn't have bikes or anything like that. We didn't have footballs, but we made footballs from whatever we could get. Whatever, maybe a coconut shell will be what we start kicking around as a football. Yeah. And so that is the ultimate place for the childhood experience. Yeah. And then to be taken to Lagos, which was, it really was smelly. Especially downtown Lagos where I was. They call it Isale Eko. Okay. That's downtown Lagos, they call it. And this is where the Lagos in the early stages was a no man's land. So it was a land of settlers all coming in, and everybody living on the edge, corrugated iron roofs, etc. Small shacks, open gutters running through. And I remember the mucus, the smell was so strong that the mucus in my throat wouldn't allow me to sort of sleep properly. That's how it was back then in 1968. Yeah. And also the closeness of village life. Everybody was your uncle, everybody was your father in the village setting. You couldn't get lost. How could you get lost in the village? You just, everybody knew you. You knew your way around. However small a child. Whereas in Lagos, I got lost pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, huge roundabout, cars going all around the place. I didn't know which exit was which.
Yeah.
In those days, the police were still quite civilized and disciplined in Nigeria. I vividly remember, I was lost at the roundabout, Tafa Balewa Square. I was lost, and I was crying, and a policeman got me and bought me an ice cream and took me back to the police station, and somehow they found me.
Okay.
That thing can't
That's a
happen
myth
now.
now. Yeah,
That,
you'd be an
that
orphan
thing
now.
can't happen now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you certainly would be if you survived the experience at all.